Good afternoon, students. So I wanted to just walk you through what your assignment is today. Remember yesterday I mentioned that you would be working on vocabulary. So this is something that you want to definitely work on today after you watch the video. It will help you just to make sure that you know all of the major vocabulary terms for chapter 2. So I'm going to just show you the slideshow and what the slideshow looks like and how to complete the slideshow, and then you can be on your way. All right, so this slideshow is shared with you in Google Classroom. You have editing access to it, so once you open it up, you'll be able to type in it. You'll see here that there are 11 total slides. You are not going to be completing the whole thing today. You'll be completing half of it. So these are vocabulary terms for the entire Unit 1. We're only working on like halfway through. So chapter 2 is only a piece, only half of Unit 1. Okay, so just to make sure that you know where the words are coming from as well. So I'm just going to click on Teach TCI. Remember that you can look in the introduction section for the chapter, and you can actually see all of the major key vocabulary for that chapter. So here, you could see that there's 6 different vocabulary terms that are kind of covered in this chapter that we've used. So you can probably expect to see these, most of these, some of these in the vocabulary slideshow that you'll be working on today. Also, just so that you can see, in the slideshow itself, I actually already defined the words for you. So I kind of took that step off of what you have to do. Just so that you know, I went to the reference section of the textbook. I went to the glossary. And then I looked up the words here in the glossary. All right, so that's where I found the definitions of each of the words. Okay, so going into the slideshow, you'll see that the slides are very colorful, and there are some different things that you are going to be doing for each of the vocabulary words. So I wanted to show you an example of what the slideshow will end up looking like in the end. So the first one that I have here is the example. You can see that I already completed it. Anything that's in red here is what I wrote and filled in. So at the top of the slide, you can see that we have the vocabulary term that's bolded. So the term is big game. And actually, that's not one of the terms that's highlighted and listed in this chapter, believe it or not. But it is a term that we need to know what it is. So I decided to make that the example. Okay, so the definition of big game is large animals that are hunted for. Okay, so remember, we talked about the word big game when we discussed migration routes, right? So there's a few different things, actually 4 different things you're going to be doing to work with each of these terms. The first one is explain it, all right? So when you're explaining it, you want to explain, what does this mean in your own words? So to me, the word big game means very large animals that are followed and trapped for meat, okay? Sure, I used a couple of the same words, but I elaborated a little bit more on what it means to me. Okay, another one that we're doing is use it. So how can you show its meaning in a sentence? Okay, so I have to think about, how am I going to use the term big game in a sentence? And I want to be really clear to the person that's, let's say reading this sentence, that I know what the word big game means. So I want to really try to use some context clues in my sentence. So here's my sentence. American Indians traveled from Siberia to North America while following and hunting big game, such as caribou, bison, and mammoths. Notice how I bolded big game so it stands out, which is the vocabulary word. And I actually even decided to underline some context clues, just so that if somebody were reading this, they would know what big game is. And I gave some examples of big game here underlined. Okay, so you can try to get into the habit of really trying to give details in your sentences so it's super clear that you understand what it means. Okay, the next thing that I'm doing is I'm comparing it. Okay, what can you connect this to? So this one can actually be a little tricky, I think, for some, depending on what the word is. So just try your best with it. But okay, so this is a connection that I have. So there's a video game that I always remember like seeing, I don't know, I guess commercials for, and it was a hunting game. So, and I remember it was called, I think, Big Game, right? So this reminds me of Cabela's Big Game Hunter video game. In the video game, you have to hunt for deer or bears. So that was kind of like a connection that I made. Again, if you have trouble with this one, just do the best that you can. I know this can sometimes be tricky, especially if it's a word that you've really never heard of before, but just do your best with that one. Or you can try to maybe think of a connection, even if it's something that you didn't think of previously. Now that you know what the word means, can you connect it something now that you know? And then lastly, this is my favorite one. So you're going to sketch it or find a picture to help you to remember. So you can see my sketch here of a bison. So finding a picture on Google is really easy. All right. You can just go to Google, you can copy and paste a picture in there. I personally think that sketching really helps you to remember something. But I will say it is a little tricky sometimes to use the sketch pad. So I'll kind of walk you through the steps to use it. If you're having trouble with it, I would just look for a picture online. Okay, so you can use the link to open up the sketch pad. And basically, once you do that, it's going to bring you to just like this open space. There's a lot of different tools that you can use. Let's just say, I don't know, I'm going to use a pencil. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to make a star just so you can see an example. So here we go. So here's the next thing is, well, how do I get this onto the actual slide? So I think that yours might look a little bit different than the way that mine looks. But what I'm going to do here is click on the export button. I click on save region and I can actually like highlight. Once you do that, I believe that it will save for you in this little, like something will pop up over here and it'll show the picture that you saved. I think if you right click that and you say copy, you can then paste it. So let me try that. If I go here, okay, let me try it. So I'm going to right click, copy, and let's see if that would work. I'm going to paste it. There we go. Perfect. That was actually pretty easy. So then I can just resize it and place it where I want it to go. So again, if you have difficulty with the sketch pad, or even if you have like another tool that you use to draw something, you can totally do that. Or if you're really having difficulty, I would say just look a picture up on Google and paste it. But I really like to sketch. I think that really helps me to make meaning of something. Okay, so for today, you're going to work on slides 3, okay, which is adaptation, environment 4, 5, migration, 6, natural resource, 7, nomadic, and that is it. So you're going to go from slides 3 to 7, okay, and that's it. Okay, if you have a question, I probably won't be able to get back to you until after school's over, but feel free to email me, but just do your best. When you're done, you can turn it in. We will be going back to this later on. At that point, you can unturn it in. But for today, to show that you're finished with this, turn it in. And this is going to be due by the end of the day today, or in the afternoon by the end of the day, because we will be using this tomorrow in class. So you want to make sure that you have it done by the time that we're in class tomorrow. All right, everybody, have a good day.